I'm standing in one of my favorite places. This is the film vault at the Missouri Historical Society. It's filled with old news film, TV shows, commercials, even home movies. Well, not too long ago, they were helping Channel 9 track down some old stuff for our 50th anniversary this year when they came across something they didn't know they'd had.
And one of the items happened to be a pair of reels that said World's Fair, Deloge. That's all. Reel 1, Reel 2. We put them up on the viewer and turned on the switch, and oh my gosh, what have we got here? Is this honest to God World's Fair footage that nobody has seen before?
That's the World's Fair, all right, the Cascades, moving pictures, the real thing. But there's already known film of the fair. The question was, are these scenes that they didn't already have? The film clearly stated that it was looking back on the event nearly 20 years later, and most of what's shown of the fair are still photographs. The flicker of the projector brings them to life a little bit, but they're just photos, and there's not much new in that. What really jumped out at the historians was the moving images of the ceremonial driving of the first stake in Forest Park in 1901. Another clip shows the groundbreaking kicking off construction. And there's the famous pressing of the button by David R. Francis to officially open the Louisiana Purchase Exposition in 1904.
You know, there were plenty of oohs and ahs, and then we started, okay, let's take a really close look at what we've got here.
And these historical society folks know the World's Fair as well as they know anything. They've got plenty of photos of the important events, and they immediately saw the discrepancies. Different clothes, different weather. And that's David R. Francis, all right, but an older, grayer David R. Francis. So it was a long-lost film. But of the actual World's Fair events,
we found that it wasn't actually. It was a recreation from the early 1920s, from 1922, about 18 years after the fair had closed. But it took us some effort to get to that point, to sort of discover. So for a period of time we had this sense that, oh my gosh, we found the lost missing link of the World's Fair, and then it slightly adjusted.
The film historian saw other signs that put the events at a later date. Film techniques, this dissolve from a wide angle to a close-up, for example, the kind of thing that just wasn't being done in 1904. And someone else remembered running across something in the archives, a clue that seems to put all the pieces together.
One of the librarians remembered an article in a newspaper about a film being made recreating the opening of the fair. It was a Post-Dispatch article in 1924.
That was the 20th anniversary of the World's Fair. The article said a film was shot 2 years before when the surviving World's Fair committee members had held a reunion. It said the film had been shown in movie theaters and was now going to be shown again to civic groups.
You would have assumed that there would have been some organ, some music being played at the same time, but to a modern viewer, you couldn't possibly sit through these things. There's the absence of color, there's the absence of sound, and then, of course, there's the extremely slow editing pace.
And a long time to read the titles.
The titles are on the screen for an awfully long time. And not only are we more accustomed to a quicker editing pattern, we're accustomed to a wider variety of shots.
Copies of the film were made, and Channel 9 somehow got one maybe 50 years ago. And that's the one that just turned up, labeled World's Fair, Deloge.
I would suspect that Deloge had something to do